Hey, thank you for tuning in the Inquisitive Minds podcast. I'm your host, as usual, Johnny Smith. We have a special treat today. Guy I met, used to work with, after getting to know him a bit, hell of a guy, and then impressed by the cornucopia of interests he has. My guest today is a salesman. He is a cigar aficionado. He is a non-competitive bodybuilder. He is a brand supplement influencer. I don't know. Take your stuff, guys. Take your pre-workouts, your pre-sleeps, all that shit. What else did I say? Food, restaurant, reviewer, foodie is Jake Aretz. Welcome to the program, Jake.
Thank you, Johnny.
Yeah, how you doing today, man?
I'm good. I've been busy. I just moved. I know you saw that post online.
Congrats on that, by the way.
Thank you. It's been a hell of a process. You know, I was in a rental for a couple years. Tried to buy that property. Turned out to just be a nightmare with stuff that needed fixed. She didn't want to fix it, on and on. So started looking for different places, found a place, moved in as of Friday, and I'm loving it. You know, just sorting everything out. Basically going to be flipping the whole place.
What area?
So it's only 5 miles from where I was. So like up towards Pittsburgh Mills Mall, you know, way up 28. And I'm labeled Cheswick, but it's like more towards Fox Chapel, Oakmont, towards that direction.
A little nicer area?
It is, yeah. Compared to where I was, this is a specific just little neighborhood. So like very white, suburban, boring, middle-class place. But
Jake, that's very fitting for you on the outside appearance. Yes. I got to know you a little bit, and boy, oh boy, you're quiet, but are you an interesting fella? You know what? Let's start with the non-competitive bodybuilding.
Okay.
And essentially, that just means you want to be fucking huge for no goddamn reason.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely not huge. I'm.
To be fair, you're modest, because I'm going to say this without being insulting at all. You look very unassuming.
Yeah.
But like seeing your actual physique and whatnot, it's rather impressive. Yeah. When did you start with that?
So I think I can recall going to Dunham's, which is like not as big as Dick's, but like a sporting goods store. I was probably like 8 years old.
Second base.
10 years old, and I'm going there with my dad, and I'm like, I'm going to get some like 10-pound dumbbells. And it just all started right there. So I'm like, you know, even at age 10, I'm like, I'm ready. I'm just in the basement curling them up. And like, even at 12, I have pictures of like family vacation. I'm like shredded with abs. So it's like, I've never been out of shape my whole life. And then I'm just thinking in my head, I'm like, as soon as I'm 16 and I can like drive somewhere, I'm going to the gym, and that's it. Just game over. And that's what it was. As soon as I got my license, I'm up at the gym every day after school. Mm-hmm. And it just went from there. And
now, did you, like, were you involved in any type of other athletics, like competitive sports at all?
That's the thing. With my personality, just being very to myself, it's just like I was never a team player. And, like, my dad would say, hey, I want you doing this or that. And I did track, football, basketball, and, like, always naturally athletic, you know, never like a superstar or anything like that. But, you know, when it came to bodybuilding, and I'm like, hey, this is something that's just me. You know, what I put in, I'm going to get out. And I'm like, this is definitely for me versus, like, all my other friends are, you know, going pro playing basketball and stuff.
Do you do any, like, CrossFit, or is it all, like, sculpting work?
I never got into that. And I respect the hell out of that. I really do.
Oh, yeah. And those guys are no joke.
They're no joke at all. I mean, they're throwing 500 pounds over their head, and they're doing like 3,000 jumping jacks in 20 minutes. And it's like,
the pull-ups, like, they're not just doing regular pull-ups. Like, they're throwing their whole body up and, like, doing a dip and then doing another. It's, like, crazy.
Going over the rings and everything. And it's like, dude, I respect that. But it's what appeals to you.
Absolutely.
Did that ever appeal to me? No. Did being ever 260 pounds of muscle appeal to me? Not really. And that's why I'm not. Like, could I get there? Yeah. I mean, it's possible.
What are you weighing in at now, Jake? I know a while back it was 152 specifically.
If I took my clothes off and got on a scale right now, yeah, probably with some food in me, I'm probably 153, 4. I've been about here for a good while.
So, but you're saying you could potentially pack on another 50 pounds of muscle if you worked out, obviously.
Well, not naturally. Mm-hmm. That's the thing. And I've never taken that step, like with steroids. And obviously,
Okay, talk to me about that step, because that's something I'm always curious about, but I'm not in the life.
Yeah.
So I can't just randomly walk up to people.
And that's the thing, like, when I just started lifting weights, and I'm a young kid looking on YouTube, I'm seeing these guys that are just huge, and I'm like, well, yeah, I guess if you work out that hard, you can get that big,
Like
right?
Rich Penna?
Yeah. And I'm like, and then you start getting involved, and you're like, wait, these guys are on drugs. Like, you can't get that big without
I love
it,
him to death,
period.
but The Rock has to be on some type of
You have to.
quote-unquote supplement to maintain the size he has.
At least, and I don't know if you'd consider this unnatural or natural, but I think there's a lot of guys, and maybe even like him, claiming natural, just using testosterone, a natural hormone. Just using testosterone, you can get big. Like, so if he's just doing that, period, I think that's a lot different than using other drugs like Winstrol, Trenbolone, like all these real drugs that are going to make you just like freaky.
Well, keep in mind, guys, too, when he says it's going to make you big, you have to put the work in. You know, you're not going to get like The Rock if you just take steroids and eat nachos all day.
And some people think you can.
Yeah, well, that's a weird misconception.
It is. And don't get me wrong, if you take those things are going to happen to your body. If you just take a bunch of testosterone and growth hormone, you're going to probably put size on, even not trying.
Now, where does one get some testosterone? Because I'm a bit of a recreational user of things. You know, I like mushrooms, weed, ass, whatever. I'll try it. I've always been interested in the testosterone hormone, human growth hormone.
And that's the thing. Like, even if you texted me and said, hey, dude, I'm using this, like, I'd think nothing of it. Like, you know, if that's what you want to try and do, go for it. I mean, there's, especially when you get to a certain point in your life, 40 plus, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
That you're naturally declining and you're noticing effects in your body that, hey, you're not 20, 30 years old anymore. I have nothing against someone using hormones to get back to where they used to be.
Well, furthermore, if they're not doing anything, like if you're not competing against anyone and unfairly.
Exactly.
Like if you're just living your life, like Jake, you just bodybuild.
Yeah.
So you just took steroids.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit. You know what I mean? Like, do what you do.
Yeah. I mean, if you're cheating at something, a sport, I get that. You know, maybe it's frowned upon. But if I just want to do it for me, you know, when I get to 45, if I want to feel like 25 again and use a little bit of growth hormone or something just to get the muscle tone back and everything, I see it as a why not.
Now, forgive my ignorance here, but what is the difference between human growth hormone and testosterone as far as, like, effects on the body?
So the testosterone is going to be the key to anything. It's like if there's a steroid out there, the basis of what that's made up of is going to be like a testosterone base with other things built into it that are either going to affect, you know, body fat, strength. Like if you'd take something like a Winstrol, that's going to get you just freaky shredded.
Now, real quick, just to interrupt you, I don't know these names inside.
Right.
The Winstrol, are these drugs that you're naming, like, are they legal? Or are they gray? Or are they
more like gray areas?
Okay.
I mean, like, people can manufacture these. You know, if you're educated enough with, you know, chemical engineering, etc. I know guys that actually used to make steroids, and the guys that would buy those steroids from these like underground labs. But in general, like, these things are also out there for treatment, testosterone, growth hormone, etc., for originally medical purposes, and especially like if you're like a burn victim and you're like your skin's gone, getting on some of those drugs to help like recreate better skin cells, stronger skin, like that's why that stuff's out there originally. And, you know, some of that was just stumbled upon, like in German labs, you know, 70 years ago.
I don't know if it was stumbled upon
or,
it
you
was
know, purposely
found,
made. But, yeah, I mean, that's how that stuff's out there. And like I was saying, different drugs are going to have different effects, but they're all going to be a base of testosterone. The difference between that testosterone and growth hormone, the test is just like overall what you need. But when you'd start implementing higher levels of normal growth hormone in your body, that's where these guys are going to get freaky big. Like where you see pictures of Arnold Schwarzenegger, like 240 pounds, just jacked, looking great, you know, way back, compared to today's guys that are just ridiculous.
I know you know the name Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah,
Like,
is probably one of the
come
heaviest
on.
drug users to ever live.
His veins in his arm were bigger than my pecker. Like,
And
they were ridiculous.
That's how you get that size. It's the growth hormone.
Well, you see
That's
what it's done to
changed
his
the
body
game.
now. He's a mess, essentially.
Yeah.
These drugs, like testosterone, growth hormone, steroids, what effect do they have on one's mental health? Since you've been around some individuals that have used.
I mean, the stereotypical stuff is out there, just like the aggression. That's the number one thing. Like someone says, hey, you're using steroids, you're getting aggressive.
Is that real, though?
It's personality based.
I feel like
a lot of it.
When you're in the gym, it's not always anymore, but a lot of times it's a masculine thing. Guys are tensions are hot. I just think that's almost a natural thing.
Right.
But I always hear about roid rage, quote unquote. But then I was talking to a guy, and he said he got creatine rage at one point, and he was serious. Like, I know it sounds absurd, but he was like, the creatine was just raging me out, man. I almost hit my wife. And I'm like, what? Dude.
People are affected differently by everything. I mean, everything. What you eat, your hydration, everything's going to affect you in a different way. Like people wake up, and that's Johnny Smith when you wake up. As soon as you have coffee, that's a different version of you. Mm-hmm. You're changing everything about your body when you put that caffeine in it. Then it just, I don't know if you do, maybe you go to McDonald's, you eat a breakfast sandwich. That changes you again. Where you were speeding up on that coffee.
Every time I get a guy who's in super shape here, they start attacking me. He's going to McDonald's, like I'm out here killing babies.
Well, I know you were on a different health path there for a while.
Yes.
I don't know what path you're on currently.
Well, I am getting back on that path.
The keto path.
Yeah, I had slipped up for a while.
It's not easy.
Well, I did great for a long time.
And saw results.
And then, I'll be honest, I started slipping up when I went down to Texas to see my sister.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, all right, I'm on vacation. And I got back, I slipped up. And then it's the holidays. And then, my mom essentially died.
I'll get to it later. It's just like...
And it's all this stuff that I keep trying, keep slipping. And it's like, just got to do it. Yep. I did it before. I, dropped 55 pounds or whatever. I can get back to it. It's just, you get mentally lazy.
Yeah, you do.
And quesadillas are so good. They're so delicious.
I won't deny that. But I think that's the hardest part of, just talking about bodybuilding, staying in shape, getting to the gym. If you can get on a path of doing that for, I'd say, even just 2 months. Mm-hmm. Perfect example. I made friends with a guy 10 years ago. I was like 16. He was like 26. And he's like, hey, man, I see you start working out. You're looking good. I think I'd like to do something like that. And he started real small. Literally, like I sold him a pair of little perfect push-ups and he'd do those. I sold him a little total gym. He started doing that. And eventually he worked himself up into going to the gym. And once he started doing that, he's like, I couldn't ever go back to the way I was. Mm-hmm. Like he literally became addicted to doing that. And I'm the same way. Like once I really started going to the gym, I became addicted to doing that. And like when COVID hit and things shut down, mm-hmm. and I literally like did not work out for like 2 months. It was just from a mental side, like devastating. Like definitely felt depressed, etc.
I felt the similar effects like when comedy first shut down.
Yeah.
The first, especially month or so. Yeah. It was devastating.
Yeah.
I didn't know.
You're used to doing that. It gives you, I'm sure, like a high when you're up there.
And then it's a sense of community.
Yeah.
Family. Even the comics that you don't like, you miss seeing them.
Yeah.
So, first shout it out, your sponsors.
Yeah.
And
so in terms of bodybuilding sponsors, I do represent FNX. It's a nutritional company. They reached out to me through Instagram, said, hey, would love to have you an ambassador. And it's really not all that it's hyped up to be because they sponsor.
Jake, don't shit on your sponsors as soon as you shout them out.
No, not the sponsors.
Oh, okay.
It's just they don't have I'm not. Not that you guys are going to know the name, but I'm not Steve Cook with Optimum Nutrition.
Yeah, I know Steve Cook.
Exactly.
I don't fucking know Steve Cook.
But he's just a global face of bodybuilding and health and fitness. But this small company, FNX, they're just like, hey, you guys want to represent our stuff? Just here, post it on your thing. So it's I'm not going to sit here and I'm honored to be a part of the team because there's only 7 people in the world that do this. There's like hundreds of ambassadors. But as far as the products themselves, being that I actually worked at GNC for a time and then just being in the community period with like bodybuilding and everything, I've tried dozens, maybe even not hundreds, but close to hundreds of brands. And I know like what's good, what's bad. And these FNX products are honestly legit, like for effectiveness, for taste, quality.
What are the different line of products that you use specifically? Works
Specifically, for you? What I use, the things I've gotten from them that I can speak on, because like I'm not gonna get everything, because not all of it is gonna apply to me. Some of it's maybe male or female based, but like I've used all their proteins, and like some of their stuff's pretty unique. Like they have a specific morning protein with certain like nootropics in it to help with like, mental clarity, stuff like that. So maybe if you're trying to wean off coffee, if you think that's a bad habit, you could use, some of this stuff to help.
If coffee is your worst habit, you're
doing
pretty good.
You're doing pretty good.
Some of us are railing it pretty hard on the side.
But I've used that. Impressive. Pre-workouts, impressive. I mean, I think all their flavors, their mixability, just all their quality in the stuff they have out there, I love it.
Okay.
So I'm happy to put a post out there on Instagram saying, hey, guys, try this out. It's good stuff.
FNX?
FNX.
FNX. Check them out, guys. What is your Instagrams, too? You know what? And I will say, I should have did this in the intro. Man of 1,000 Instagrams.
Yeah, you can have 5 on your mobile device, so I'm getting there quick. Yeah. So it started with, and the thing is, what's funny about Instagram is I was totally against it for a long time. Because, I mean, what's it been out for, like 10 years? More than that? It's been a while, and like my cousin was one of the first people I knew. He's like, yo, I'm addicted to this Instagram shit, and it's just like pictures. It's way cooler than Facebook. And I personally hate pictures. Like, I'm not a selfie guy. You're not going to find those on my Instagram, really. But I'm like, I'd never have an Instagram because that's just not me. And then when I started getting into the food scene and posting places I'd go on Facebook, and people were like, you got to do this on Instagram. Like, you don't got to put yourself on there. Just put your restaurants on there and let people know what you're doing, what you think of it. Like, people love this stuff. I'm like, all right, so let me go for that. And I opened the Killer Eats account, and that's by far my most popular account, but I've also had it the longest, and I have the most activity on it. And then I think after that I did the fitness account, and that one's Jake Aretz Fitness. And that's where I wanted to shift attention from, because like the Killer Eats is where FNX reached out to me, and I'm like, what am I doing with this account where I'm putting cars on here, I'm putting cigars on here, I'm putting supplements on here. Like, this is supposed to be a food account. So I'm like, let's get a little higher level of professionalism, keep it just food, because that's obviously what people want to see if they're following this. They don't want to see me, posting a car sale or anything like that. So that's where I started separating all the Instagrams, and I made the Killer Eats, Jake Aretz Fitness, the Notorious Gambler, and then the newest one is Smoking Suits. So
I didn't know about the Notorious Gambler one. Maybe I did.
I think you follow. Yeah, it's probably my least popular account, but it's just a bunch of random shit of me doing gambling stuff at the casino, posting sports tickets, slots tickets, whatever gambling related. Like I said, I was putting that on my original page, and I'm like, I got to create some separation. And what's wild is there's a market, like, for every page, like, just the most random people following all those accounts, and it's like...
Yeah, I didn't get an Instagram until I started doing some stand-up, because, like, didn't have a need for it. Like, what do I need to see pictures for?
Right.
But, I mean, it's beneficial. Yeah. Now, Jake, where did the food reviewing start? Where did the restaurant reviews come?
Like, when did that become a part of my life?
Yeah. What's
interesting about that is, and I just did a recent post on it, and, it was something I said in the post, like, hey, I was always the same guy going to the same restaurants, and I just lived a super boring life. And one day I was just like, I just want to, like, explore, some different options. And it really started when I started my first car sales job in Monroeville, and I was just like, where can I go for lunch? I'm just tired of packing stuff. I'm gonna go down the road and try this place. And I tried it, and I just posted a picture of it. Tried another place, posted a picture of it, and that's like kind of where it all started. And it just in a way became addicting, because it's like, you're just stepping out of your own world for like an hour a day, and you're just going somewhere. You're meeting people. You're experiencing something.
That is a profound way to put it.
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it like that.
And that's the thing. Like, there's so many things I do, and I explain to people why I do it, and then they're like, "Whoa," And if I can just touch other people's lives and try and explain why I'm doing things I'm doing and pass that on to someone else, and maybe they can open up that same passion for their life in all these areas I'm passionate in, I think people would be a lot happier, if they just started exploring some of these things. And food definitely being one of them. I mean, I've been to hundreds, probably 400 or 500 restaurants, which is hard to even imagine.
Give me one of your top reviews.
Like, if I could recommend one place in Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Outside of BSB.
Outside of Big Shot Bob's, which is probably what people know me for best that follow my Instagram.
You put me on a Big Shot Bob's.
I put a lot of people on a Big Shot Bob's, and it's
Jake. For those that don't know and don't follow, Jake is so frequent at Big Shot Bob's. What was it? The Bloomfield one.
The Bloomfield one specifically.
That he was just started. He went through all the sauces, and then just decided to start designing his own.
Yeah. I mean, the thing about that, like, why the hell did I even get into that and start doing that? Like, why'd I take it so intensely is the thing.
You did, too.
Yeah.
I was there during that process. Every day, it was a different flavor, and you were very meticulous.
Like, ruthless discipline. Like, I was getting paid to do it, and I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't at all. I was paying to do it.
If I'm correct, didn't you do, like, 2 flavors every now and then?
Sometimes.
You do, like, a double?
Yeah.
And I'm like, Jesus, this guy.
Yeah. So I knocked out the entire signature flavors menu, and I can't recall exactly, but there's got to be nearly 70 flavors on there. And then there's a lot of classic flavors, and I knocked out a lot of those too. But the thing is, I went and still am doing a very, not keto, because keto is like literally almost no carbs as a diet. But when I started reading a few different books on just nutrition and carbohydrates, I wanted to get back to that because it's something I did in the past, and like yourself, got away from it, and I wanted to get back to it. And obviously, wings, there's really no carbs in them, so I was like, I can do a protein shake with no carbs.
We've had beef over this too, over the boneless, no bone wing.
Yeah,
you know, I'm team boneless all the way.
But surprisingly, there's some carbs in there, like more than you'd think. Some boneless wings, there's like 55
absolutely
carbs in them or something, but. Most of mine with the bone in and minimal carbs, but that's just what got me to the wings. And I'm just like, it's tasty, it's fun, it's easy. Go up, pick it up. It knocks an hour out of my day.
Well, I know you were working on a signature flavor that was, your baby,
right?
Essentially. Any progress with that?
It's not that I got away from that, but I'll share kind of what I shared with you. And you named it, Killing Them Souply, because I was trying to create a sauce that tasted like lobster bisque soup, because I was eating a Big Shot Bob wing one day, and I'm like, there's something that tastes like lobster bisque about this, and I really liked it, and I wanted to try and recreate that, and when I actually did, it wasn't that good. But then I just started going into other flavors, and my house is ridiculous. I probably have like 100 spices and like 30 different sauces throughout my counters and fridge, and I've just tried all these crazy recipes. But yeah, it's not like at this point I'm trying to like bottle and sell a sauce, but honestly, I'd really like that to be a goal. I like to walk in a store and see like, oh yeah, I own Tabasco. That's my sauce.
Yeah.
I think that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, like having your own brand is very important. And I don't know all the levels you're at. I know, my brand's fairly small, but it's mine.
Right.
You know what I mean? And that's something that, like, you can't recreate. Once you own something and it's yours and it's an amazing feeling. Although we got a little off. Best food recommendation.
So, I mean, obviously, I got to go towards a fancier restaurant. You get what you pay for. I recently, for my birthday, went to Alla Famiglia, which is up in like the Mount Washington area. Fantastic steak, which is what I get when I go to a fine dining restaurant. And honestly, I've had very disappointing experience with steaks. Quality of the meat itself, I mean, you're going to get quality. But as far as like any kind of flavoring to it, I swear some of these places do nothing. So it's like you cut into it and it just tastes like hot water.
No.
So if you can cook a steak right, season it a little bit, I'm happy. I went there, and just between the service, the courses, pricing, I was happy with everything. So yeah, Alla Famiglia, if you're looking for a good place in Pittsburgh,
Now,
definitely one.
I am a man who likes a little bit of gossip, a little bit of drama as well. Give me the other end of the spectrum. You got a place that
Place.
really disappointed you for whatever reason?
I mean, I've had a few. I
Mhm.
can't think of one right off the top of my head.
No, that's all right. I mean, it happens.
Yeah.
I could say the McDonald's on the north side is pretty shitty. I'm giving that a 2-star review.
I am pretty honest with my reviews, so for anyone out there interested, if you'd flip through any of my Killer Eats posts on how I rate some of these restaurants, which some of the more recent ones are in depth, like where I rate cleanliness, atmosphere, and all that.
What do you also do? Craveability?
Craveability, and I'll tell you where I got that, because it's like, where the hell did this guy come up with this? I was reviewing the restaurants, and I got kind of bored just going 1 to 10, because I was trying... I'm not going to try and go somewhere shitty on purpose.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that makes sense.
Everywhere I was going, I'm like, yeah, 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. And it's like, this is fucking boring. Okay. So it's like, I want to go a little more in depth. And of all things, I found this like Chuck E. Cheese corporate review. And that's where it was broken down of all these levels from like some kind of psychological study of what this Chuck E. Cheese would be like, and all the craveability and the atmosphere. And it's like, that's what should be rated. Like, as a restaurant. And it's like, honestly, I've kind of gotten away from that just a little bit. I've kind of gotten away from eating out a little bit, mostly for budget reasons. Like when you're spending $1,000-$2,000 a month going out to eat, it's like, okay, either you're doing really well in life, or and it's just like, I got to a point where I'm like, this just isn't necessary.
Here's the thing. This is what's funny. You were spending that on nice restaurants.
Yeah.
There's people spending that on fucking DoorDash right now.
Yeah.
Paying $80 for some double cheeseburgers.
It's efficient, don't get me wrong, but I'm so against just paying for laziness, put it that way.
I am against that too. Like, the only place I'll get a delivery from is like a pizza place.
Right.
That delivers. I can't, it's nothing against anybody. I can't bring myself to order someone to pick up McDonald's from me.
Right.
It's literally 5 minutes down the street.
Right.
I don't know, man.
Like, for me to bring wings instead of buying them every day at Big Shot Bob's, I'm like, all right, I can do this for like, it was like $15, $16 at the time. Or I'm like, if I have someone else do it, I'm like, what? It's like $25? So it's like, if I'm doing this every day, $10 difference, say like $300 a month or something. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to be lazy for $300 a month. I'll go pick it up.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. I want to take a minute to let you guys know. Come out on Thursday to Mike's Comedy Showcase at Mike's Beer Bar, right at 110 Federal Street, across from PNC Park. The show's hosted by Dale Miller. I'll be on there with a bunch of other great comics, Ian Doherty, Daniel Brady, Corey Henderson, Kelsey M., Zach Seepley, Liz Martin, plenty more. It's this Thursday. Check it out. You know what? I should be better at this. I think it's a free show. I don't fucking know. Show up, guys. Okay. No, that makes sense. So when did you get into, because this is where I get kind of conflicted with, like, understanding you, I guess.
Okay.
Very health conscious.
Yeah.
You know, super in shape and all that. Cigar fan.
Cigar fan.
That's counterintuitive. We all have vices, but where did that come into play?
I'd say when I was like 14, like my dad would smoke cigars once in a while, and I swear it was just like one night. I can remember specifically. I can't remember if that was my very first time or not, but it was like me and my cousin. And I'm like, hey, Dad, can me and Jimmy take one of your orange Philly cigars? He's like, you know what, guys, go ahead. And we're like 13 or something, so like we're like, this is awesome. And we went out in the garage, we're smoking on them, and like I'm just like, this is awesome. And it's just like that idea and feeling never went away. So I was like always interested. And then when I started going out, when I turned like probably 21, and like me and my buddy would go back when you could smoke in a casino, would, you know, get some cigars, go to the casino, go wherever, and just, you know, really enjoy ourselves. That's where I started getting into real cigars. Obviously, a big difference between like a $5 5-pack at the gas station versus like a $20 cigar.
Hey, those are clutch sometimes, man.
Well, it depends what you're doing with them, you know.
That's a fair point. See, that's one thing I'm lacking in is cigar knowledge. you know, I've smoked, you know, the shitty brands at the gas station used for weed and shit. I've smoked them as a regular cigar, but I don't understand like the enjoyment, because don't you guys just not inhale and just like taste the flavor?
Yeah, you don't inhale, but I mean you can get some sensations off them. You know, I mean, like one cigar is like how many cigarettes or something probably for nicotine. So like if you're new to cigars and you just go buy like a regular stick and you smoke that thing in 30, 60 minutes somewhere in there, you're going to be like, hey, man, my head is rocked. Like, you might feel sick. I've thrown up. I'll be honest about that. I've thrown up before smoking a cigar so fast. So,
Really?
I mean, there is going to be an effect on yourself. You're not just going to puff and blow and that's it, the day's over. But it is mostly for the enjoyment, and that's what I get out of it. Like, just the smell, the taste, just putting yourself in a relaxing environment, because, like, obviously you're not going to do something like some guys do, obviously, but like you're out there pushing the mower, cutting grass, smoking a cigar. Like that's not what it's about. It's about
those guys are a different cut, man.
Yeah, I mean, those are probably chain smokers.
Yeah, they're not smoking it for the pleasure. They're getting through the day.
That's just their life. But
yeah.
Like me, I smoke right now once a day. Instead of a lunch break, I take a smoke break. And like I used to take an hour for lunch. Now I take like an hour to go smoke. And I've been going to Leaf and Bean in the Strip District for that cigar break. And I just kick back, relax, put the headphones in, and just kind of step away from life for a little bit. And I just really enjoy it. And I think one of the things, I definitely couldn't quote it verbatim, but like what's special about a cigar is, I read in this book, this guy said, you know, because of where these are made, because like the tobaccos, they're not just like your junk you're going to get out of some American factory. Like you're paying so much for a cigar because like these were hand rolled, like hand grown, shipped here from different countries. Like you're paying for the processes that went behind these versus just something cheap in the gas station that just like literally rolled off a line in New York somewhere. But he said like when these tobaccos are blended from these different countries, you can taste those countries. Like you can taste the leaves that are in the Dominican Republic, and like you can smell the ocean, you can feel the sun. It's all inside that cigar, and you can just go there in that cigar in this special moment. And that's just what I do with those cigars. I just go to those places. The guy's like, I never take a vacation. I just have these cigars and I'm in that place.
Okay. I mean, that's dope.
That's deep.
Yeah, it's definitely deep. Yeah. Wow. Jake, I wasn't expecting that answer, if I'm being honest. That was some shit, man. Now, you started with that Philly or whatever. Mm-hmm. When did you, like, when you started going out and you started, like,
buying
tasting
real cigars.
Yeah, real cigars. What's the difference in quality? You know, like, because the hand roll versus not, like, to someone who doesn't know about cigars.
Just, I mean, if I had both side by side right now and I said, John, just take one puff of this, one puff of this.
It was all downhill from there.
You could sense just a quality. Like if you take a puff of a really cheap cigar, like it burns your nose. It's like dry in your mouth. The cigar itself is just like brittle. It's just, you can tell it's not quality. Mm-hmm. But when you're smoking a more expensive cigar, it's like it's maybe a little bit softer. It should be kept at a certain temperature. If you go to a real cigar shop, you're going to go into a humidor, and those are usually kept at like 70 degrees at like a 70% humidity level.
They smell great.
They smell great.
They smell phenomenal.
And that's keeping the tobacco moist and fresh. And that's just all part of the experience, and you can just tell the quality. Like when I told Todd, about the cigar that was one of the best I ever had.
Which was?
The Rocky Age Limited Rare. When you smoke that, like there was zero burn in my nose. And I reached out to one of my buddies that's also a cigar guy, and I was like, dude, this cigar, it's like smoking a cupcake. It is so smooth, like sweet, and it's just ridiculous. So that's where the difference is between like a $1 stick and a $15 stick.
Have you had a Cuban cigar?
I have.
What's the hubbub?
Yeah.
You know, essentially.
So the thing about the Cubans mainly is you can't get them because of the
Embargoes or whatever
embargo
the
act
fuck.
or whatever. So it's like they're just favored in the eyes of everybody by rarity. But back to like where they're grown and everything, how I was kind of describing that. Climate affects everything with the leaf, and it's because Cuba is on like literally geographically the perfect point on earth to grow a tobacco leaf. That's what makes it so good. That's the only thing. It's just you can't get them, and the quality of the leaves. That's basically why people want Cubans or smoke Cubans and say, hey, these are better than others.
Yeah, and maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but didn't Obama at one point open up Cuba, like trade or whatever?
Exactly.
And then it got closed down again?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what happened, because when that did happen, I was asking the tobacco shop, like, hey, like, we're cool now. We can get some Cubans in here? And they're like, no, not exactly. And I forgot why they said we can't. But, yeah, long story short, we still can't.
Any idea what one of those runs?
Like $50 a piece.
Okay. You know, that seems surprisingly affordable in comparison to, like, what I thought.
Yeah. I mean, they're not ridiculous, but, I mean, $50 for one cigar.
Yeah, I mean, it's enough.
That's some ching. I mean, it's, what, 4 or 5 times more than, I was saying, the best cigar I ever had. So, but I'd love to try one. I'm sure I will. It's just a matter of getting one someday. So.
You much of a traveler, Jake?
I'm not. I'm really not. The last place like far I was in Jamaica for my sister's wedding. I think that was like 2016.
Okay.
So that was quite some time, and it's just like I don't get much off that. And I was thinking about it yesterday, just me moving into this house, things I want to do and change, etc. If someone said, hey, I'll give you a $5,000 vacation anywhere in the world, you know, first class, Paris, caviar, the whole nine, so many people would jump on that. Me, and maybe I'm wrong, but I'd rather have stuff. You know, I'm much more driven by material possessions than going somewhere and making memories. Like, that's just,
you know what? I can appreciate your honesty, Jake. I can genuinely appreciate your honesty. Stuff's pretty cool.
I just love stuff.
You mentioned real quick caviar. You a fan?
Never had it.
Never had it.
Never had it. It was at Alteas, I think it is, on Mount Washington, one of the nicest restaurants in Pittsburgh. It was like $150 on their menu or something, and I'm just like, I'd like to try it. Just be like, yeah, I had some caviar, but I mean, it's just some salty fish eggs. You know, it can't be that good.
That's like one of those things. I wonder about, quote unquote, the other side. You know, like how people who are much better off than myself live. And like you hear about the fancy things like the caviar, like escargot. None of that seems appealing. Like, I'm never going to be rich enough to look at some fish eggs and be like, oh my God, those are phenomenal. Like, those are amazing.
It's just, I mean, the people that are doing that, you know, that were making like $100,000 a month, and it just does not matter at all. You know, to spend $100 on some fish eggs at the restaurant, that's like, you get a $3 appetizer.
I get that.
It does not matter.
I get that. It's just the flavor, or what, I don't know what the flavor is. Salty, I would imagine.
That's what people say.
Salty and like that Orbitz drink from back in the day with those little balls in it.
Exactly. That's probably all we're missing, really.
I'm curious, and again, this is me showing my ignorance because I don't know. But like when you bite them, do they open?
Do they pop?
Yeah.
Do they just smear? I have no idea. I'll have them one day. I'll call you. I'll let you know.
Yeah, because
unless you beat me to it.
I don't know if I'll ever have them. Funny story. Marcus Cox is a stand-up comedian in Pittsburgh. I went to his wedding this year, and they served hors d'oeuvres. And I was, you know, being polite. Okay, took my 2 hors d'oeuvres. Didn't know what they were. For those that don't know, I don't eat seafood. You know, I'll eat a little tuna every now and then, but that's it. Don't do pork. You know, like rarely pepperoni on a pizza, but other than that, no pork.
And you're even weirded out by chicken. That's why you do the boneless? Is that right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, that was a nightmare.
I got you the bone-in wings one day, and you're like,
that was a nightmare.
This isn't for me.
I ate in the wash bay at work, and it was like war was going on because I would have to work on the chicken and then walk away because I was stressing myself out and come back and I ate it and I was like, oh, this shit is so slimy. What the fuck is this? It was miserable. What was I talking about, Jake? You threw me off with that.
The caviar, passing on a lot of seafood.
Oh, okay. So I was at his wedding. They hand out hors d'oeuvres. Didn't know what they were. Popped the first one in my mouth. Turned out to be a little crab cake. I was not happy with that at all. Not happy with that at all. Okay, second one was wrapped in bacon. Not a fan, but I figure if it's wrapped in bacon, couldn't be worse. It was some type of fish. I can't remember what it was now, but it was god awful, and I literally threw up like in my mouth, but swallowed it again because I was sitting at a wedding table. Like it was a scallop.
Weird texture.
Bacon wrapped scallop.
Yeah.
Weird texture. Weird taste. Boy, oh boy, was that rough.
Almost have to be prepared for those. You know?
And it was just like surprise.
Yeah. I did that with sushi. Everybody loves sushi, and I threw one of those in my mouth, and I threw it right back
What
out.
kind did you try?
Something from a Chinese buffet.
That's fair enough.
Just sitting there, I'm like, all right, today's the day. You know, I'm like 23. I'm going to try one of these out. Pass.
I've had that experience with sushi. I say I like sushi, but the only thing I eat is like the spicy California roll sushi, whatever it is, the basic bitch shit. But I had that exact moment. I was like, all right, this is the day. I'm going to try this shit.
See what this hype is about.
And I was like, oh, this isn't bad. It's weird textures, different flavors. It's not bad. But no, it's not for everybody. No. I dig that. Jake, so sales, man. Where did that come in?
So I'll quickly break down the employment history, because no one's sitting around in high school saying, I can't wait to sell cars one day. You know, it's a weird job. Usually, like, a lot of burnouts end up, you know, selling cars up the Chevy store.
Or comics. Like, I've known some comics that do it.
Yeah.
I knew one guy.
I felt everybody was a comic when I came to Audi.
Well, there was a bunch of us working there. Chris Scriva, Elliot Burns, and Eben Parker were all salesmen.
In comics. I'm like,
yeah.
what the hell is going on?
And then I joined.
Yeah.
You know, and we were the same day, so it was like, oh, another comic.
Yep.
What the fuck's going on here? But they all left. We all left.
You did all leave.
Eben pretty much put in his 2 weeks, and they were like, you're good to go today, bro.
The day I started, it was the day he left.
Yeah. Chris got me a job there. And then a week later, he's like, oh, by the way, I'm moving to Chicago now. Sorry about abandoning you. All right, bro. Whatever. Good luck. And then Elliot is like, hey, I don't know, diabetes, whatever Elliot says, and then just leaves. Yeah.
Still selling, though, software sales.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. He went to a different company.
Just changed fields. I actually saw him yesterday. He came down to the dealership.
He left his house.
He left his house.
Elliot.
Shout out to Elliot Burns.
I know you're not listening to this, Elliot Burns. I know you're not, but I fucking miss you, you weird dude. Elliot was the first open mic I ever went to. And it's funny because knowing him now, I approached him all wrong. I hit him up and, hey, sir, I'm John, blah, blah, blah. Can I please have a spot on your mic, blah, blah, blah. Out there, introduce myself. Real professional. Mm-hmm. And now I know Elliot, and he would just walk around going, blah, 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 like in the fucking sales room.
Yep.
So it's like, but he's a great guy. Love him. It's good to hear he's out, man.
Wow, dude. Happy to see him out. So I think, honestly, like he said, just waiting on vaccines. Got his vaccines, and he's like, all right, I'm out the door now. So good to see him. You know, he's doing well. Nothing changed a beat with him. You know,
that's good, man.
Kind of good and bad, but
I mean, he's one of those dudes. If you know him, you love him or you hate him.
Yeah.
You either can't deal with him.
Probably no middle ground.
But there's no middle ground like Elliot's okay. I love him to death.
I love Elliot.
I don't know who could hate on it because he's just
heart of gold.
He's
man.
He's a sweetheart, but he's fucking weird.
One of the weirdest people you ever meet.
I was in there one day. He had
awesome
his pants
guy.
Up to his nipples.
Yep. That sounds about right.
Were we in the bullpen one day and he had a shirt off for some reason?
He'd just get naked, basically.
And then the boss walks in.
Yep.
Elliot's nuts. He would tell me in the same conversation about his masturbation patterns, and then the next day, it was a Sunday, and he woke up extra early because his shoe shining kit was being delivered. He's a very multifaceted gentleman.
To say the least, right?
With the employment history.
So, I'll break it down quick. First job, serving Chinese food at the mall. My parents said, hey, if you want a car, you got to have a job. Pay for your gas.
Surprisingly shocking.
I took what I could get.
Jake's like, you want to try the orange chicken?
Literally. The guys you see standing in the mall with the toothpick saying, do you want this sample? That was me. And I can't wait for one day that I'm going to say, hey, I'm a millionaire, but I started handing out chicken.
Yeah, hey.
So you start somewhere. That's where I started. And I did that for not long, like 6 months.
Oh, thank God.
And I'm like, yeah, it wasn't a 7-year career.
I was handing out chicken for 5 years in that mall.
No, 5 months probably. And I'm like, Dad, I want to be in the kitchen. I don't want to be out front. So I literally got a job next door to a guy. He opened up a chicken wing store, of all things. So I have cooked chicken wings, and now I'm the Wing King, basically, on Instagram. And
that's right.
Worked.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Worked at the chicken wing place till it basically shut down. The rent there was outrageous. They want like $7,000 a month rent for you to cook chicken wings. Like, do you know how many wings you got to make to hit $7,000 in rent?
Wing King of Instagram. You have to check out former guest of the show, Dave Speck. He is called himself the Cleveland Food King of Instagram or something like that. You guys definitely check each other out.
Collaborate one day.
Also have some very some overlapping interests. I think you guys would have a very interesting conversation. Go ahead, though.
But, so after that job, once again, looking for something, took what I could get. My business teacher got me a job at a chocolate factory. And I was there probably for the least amount of time. I actually quit. Is the one thing I can say, like, hey, I walked out of a job. I don't think I've ever done that. Been fired even, which we'll come up to here in a minute.
Shit, once I decide in my head, I've had enough. I tell him 2 weeks, but I'm like, all right, that's it, y'all.
Like, I literally walked up to the guy, and I'm like, I can't do this. Good luck. The guy was just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, like, from every job I worked at, I learned something. And from him is where I think I got a lot of my everything must be perfect attitude. Because, like, would be getting these chocolate boxes and putting, like, his sticker on the front of them.
Mm-hmm.
And if it was crooked, he's like, no, you're doing it again. And I'm like, this guy's out of his mind. But, like, I just took something away from that where I'm like, everything has to be perfect. And I still carry that through, like, things I do today, which is ultimately good. But like I said, that was one of the shortest jobs I had. Walked out, turned 18, and I'm like, I want to go work at GNC because I was so into fitness, bodybuilding, supplementation. So that's really where I got even heavier into that. So, and I was passionate about sales too. And, you walk into GNC, those guys are halfway crazy. They're like, hey, have you tried this protein powder?
Oh, yeah.
So I'm like, here's a foot in the door to bodybuilding and sales. I'm like, this is all for me. So got a job there when I was 18, did that for a few months, and I just quit because it wasn't full time. I'm like, I just got out of high school. I'm not making any money here, so I got to find something. Ended up working at a pharmacy, actually, as like a field tech. So, like, would get all the drugs out to nursing homes. And I was just, like, in a back room all day, like, putting Vicodin in these
Seems appropriate.
Yeah. So that was a very strange job. That was one of the jobs I got fired from. They brought me into a room one night, sat me down, and they're like, Jake, we don't think this job is for you. I said, oh, okay. I walked out. And
did they give you a reasoning? Were you doing something wrong?
I don't want to say on the air what happened at this job, but I think they were right. It just wasn't the right fit for me.
Please tell me off the air.
Off the air, we'll dive into it. Got fired from the next job after that. I was a detailer. Much like yourself, washing cars.
By the way, good time to plug this. Today's episode is sponsored by Tenacious Detail, your mobile detailing solution for Pittsburgh and the surrounding area. We know you don't want to go to a boring-ass office, sit and wait while your car is being detailed. That's why we come to you. Have your car detailed at the comfort of your home or office. Give us a call today to schedule your appointment, 724-498-9942, or check us out on Facebook.com/TenaciousDetailPGH. Right now, offering 20% off to all service members and all rideshare drivers. 20% off any service.
So I started detailing cars for this place and ultimately got fired from that job. Guys pull me in the office. They're like, Jake, we just think you're a little too defiant, so we're going to let you go.
Defiant?
Yeah. Like, and the thing was, then what really threw me out of there is one day I grabbed an old broken wooden ladder, and for like no reason at all, I took it out in the back lot and chucked it over the hill into the river. Why I wouldn't take it to a dumpster or anything else like that is beyond me, but I was not in my right mind at the time, and I'm just like, this doesn't belong in the river. And they're just like, kid, you're wilding out. Like, we can't have you here.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I understand. And I didn't have a job for like 6 months, and I'm like out of high school, no idea what I'm doing with my life. Wandered into a beer store, and I actually stayed there for years. It was one of the longest jobs I ever had. When I started there, the guy put me on. He's like, you can work Friday and Saturday. I'm like, dude, I just need anything. My dad's taking my car if I don't get some kind of job.
Mm-hmm.
So I took it, and like, not to be funny, but everybody there either quit, died, or got fired.
Okay.
So I ended up running this whole place myself. I'm like, I'm the last guy here. I'm there like 60, 70 hours a week running this beer store. But like the way I ran it, the guy loved it because I treated the place like it was my own, to the point where he's like, hey, do you just want to buy this place? Like, you're running the whole damn show here. And I'm like, I'd love to. He's like, you give me a check for $100,000, the place is yours. So like I tried to buy it, didn't work out. Ultimately, the place just didn't have a lot of cash flow. You know, it's like, if I hired employees to work there, at the end of the year, it would be like a $10,000 profit. Like, people don't go into business.
It wasn't worth it, yeah.
But if I put in all the hours, I could have made like 50, 60 grand a year there.
But then what life do you have?
What's that?
But then what life do you have?
Not much,
You
yeah,
know.
because I would have put in all the hours, and I was already doing it, and it's like, it's a kickback job. Like, people come in, they get their beer, they leave. You're by yourself most of the time. I was just on my computer. But, yeah, you really don't have a life working like 10 to 10 every day. So after that fell apart, and during that time I was in college, and I'm doing both, and I got to a point in college going as a business major where I'm just like, I can't get through these math courses. So when I got to that point, I'm like, Mom, I'm dropping out of school. The beer store's going to shut down, and I have nowhere to go. So I'm like, I have all this beer experience. What can I do? So naturally, I went to a wholesaler. And it was like double the money I was working at the retailer. So I'm like, this works. And I went there. I'm like, can I have a sales job at this company? Because like the way I look, the way I speak has always been pretty natural. So like it's easy for me to make a good impression on somebody. And they're going to be like, hey, this guy can probably sell. And the human resources was like, hey, give us 1 year here. Be in the warehouse. Do your thing. Get to know some people. Let's talk about sales after that. And I'm like, perfect. Had a sales interview. Knocked it out of the park. Comes down to them giving you a car, and they're like, how's your driving record? And I'm like, well, I got this stop sign ticket, I got this speeding ticket, and I'm going on and on and on. They're like, we're not giving you a car, dude. So there's obviously no sales job. So what I do, I boldly went to the owner of the company, and like, this isn't some wholesaler where like you just pull up and you get a couple cases of beer. This is one of the biggest places in the country. I mean, this guy that owns it is worth hundreds of millions, and it's just like he's looked upon as a king in the industry, and like he's like the Wizard of Oz. Nobody sees the wizard.
Okay.
Nobody sees the wizard, and I'm like, fuck that. I'm going up to this guy's office, and I'm going to tell him I want a sales job, and that's what I did. And he's like, I'm going to cut you a deal. He's like, you keep your driving record clean for a year, I'll put you in sales. I haven't been pulled over since that day. I actually have been pulled over, but I never got a ticket. Mm-hmm. So I kept it clean. I went back, and I'm like, where's the job? He's like, let me put you in with, the managers. It's up to them to make these decisions. It's my company, but I can't just hire people for them. It's up to them. I'm like, okay, I respect that.
Yeah, that's fair.
And ultimately, they just didn't pick me. Lack of experience, so on. And they're like, if something opens up in your territory, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to live where you're supplying their retailers and stuff. I'm like, I get it. So I'm like, I'm waiting. And after like 8 months of waiting, I'm like, dude, fuck this whole thing. Like, I have too much potential just to be here doing this. I'm going to go sell something somewhere. And I'm like, if I just start knocking on doors at these car lots, one of these people are going to pick me. The third place I walked into, the GM's like, so this is what the pay plan's going to be. I'm like, dude, I just sat down at your desk. And he's just like, no, you're on, man.
Yeah.
We're getting you on. I'm like,
nice.
Fuck yeah. So I started there. Great experience, great store. Shout out to Spitzer Toyota. Good team there, great managers, learned a lot. It was a good place to really get my feet wet, get the training wheels on, and just learn the business, make mistakes. And then I just got to a point where, like, I can't resonate with the clientele here, because how I dress, how I act. Like I'm not gonna resonate with a guy literally coming in like off a farm saying I'm looking to get a new pickup truck. I'm
Yeah.
like, this just isn't working for me. I should be at a different store, which is what put me over at Audi. And when I had a guy I worked with at Spitzer go to Cochrane and say like, hey, you should come to Cochrane too. And I'm like, I would if there was like maybe the Audi store was hiring. He's like, I think they are. So I walked into the Audi store, met Brad Swierczek, and
Shout out to Brad.
shout out to Brad. Great guy. Down in Alabama now, I believe, doing Polaris sales. One of the best GSMs I've ever worked with. Really happy to work under his leadership.
I will say he was one of the more, at least in my experience, one of the more fair managers I've dealt with in my life.
Super fair. You know, just
That's honestly, that's the most I could ask for. I
Yeah,
just want
just be fair.
be fair.
Just be fair, be humble, work with me. And I think he definitely played a role in getting me on. And then shout out to DeVore. DeVore
was a good dude.
He was the GSM that officially hired me. Unfortunately, he left like a month after
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
there. As you were too, since we started the same day.
He
And,
went to Cleveland.
Went to Cleveland.
Believe he's either engaged or married now.
Married. Was a GM for
Building a house.
build a house out there, and I think he actually doesn't work in the auto industry anymore, unfortunately.
Well, I'm sure he's doing rather well.
He's I think he works with his wife's father's company. Not sure exactly what they do, just some information from Elliot Burns given they're close friends. But I know he's doing well.
You know what? We're going to throw it out there. I saw Elliot Burns' penis in a video where he was visiting DeVore.
I can believe that.
This is me and DeVore in the hot tub.
And here's my penis.
And there's Elliot's penis. And then there's DeVore explaining to Elliot why he is not getting in the hot tub naked with him. So, and that was no warning.
No.
Just here, 9 a.m., have some Elliot
Here it is.
penis.
Check this out.
That's all right. I watched my first gay porn outside of a mic thanks to Chris Scriba. He put on a Baby Shark parody, and it was just a guy face fucking another guy. Do. So those guys are great.
Gotta love the car business. You're gonna meet some people.
Well, real quick, as a plug, you know, people want an Audi.
Come see me, Audi Pittsburgh, 2050 Liberty Avenue down in the Strip.
Beautiful store.
Beautiful store. Have a good team in place, and you know, we always have good specials. We're always willing to work with our customers. We do Audi at your door service. Honestly, you never have to even come into the store if you want to buy a car. I kind of try and preach that on my social media that, you know, hey, I delivered this to somebody. Like the old process of going in the store and spending 5 hours there doesn't have to be that way, and that's the number one thing people hate about buying cars. So, you know, if you're listening and you're interested, you're in the market, reach out anytime. But nevertheless, yeah, that's like my 8 jobs, how I ended up in the car industry. And yeah, from here, I could definitely see myself being in it for just a little while longer.
Well,
but,
what advice would you give to someone who wants to get into sales?
Do it. Absolutely do it. And that's something, you know, I try and get mentored from people online as much as I can. And not like one-on-one, like paying for it or anything. But I'll honestly say everything I know, I learned on YouTube. Like from bodybuilding to sales, driving a manual transmission, which I taught you. Hope you appreciated that. I know you did.
Gave me a refresher course.
But
I didn't stall out, so that's good
didn't
enough for me.
stall out. But like everything I've learned,
I was actually thinking about that on the drive here.
just the good old days.
Yeah.
That was right before you left too.
Yeah, man.
But what do you say? Grant Cardone says, you know, everybody should know how to sell because selling is everything. Even when you're on stage, you're fucking selling those jokes.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
People are either going to buy them and laugh or they're not. So it's like just being able to speak to people. That's the thing. Like I'm not going to sit here and say I'm a master salesman. I don't even see myself that way. I'm a master communicator, articulate speaker, and I can convey information, you know, smoothly and, you know, properly to a point where a customer can receive it and understand it and make an intelligent decision. You know, that's where I find myself, you know, in the sales force of America. And I think if more people would just try and learn how to talk to other people and then just some of the other sides of that stuff, just with communication, body language, human psychology, you know, the ability to really read people right off the bat, things like that are really going to help you, you know, in your life. And that's why I'd recommend getting into sales for anybody. You know, even if you do it for like 2-3 years, just for what it will make of you of a person, try it out.
Okay.
Especially if you're lost,
That's fair.
as I was.
Right now, it's a good time to tell you about my other podcast with Dan Brady called Murderous States of Mind, where we discuss serial killers all throughout the United States, and we go by order of statehood. Make sure to check that out. It's on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Apple, all the weird shit, Bullhorn, whatever else they listen to. But check that out, guys. Great show, great program. Jake, I thank you for coming on, man. Very interesting guy.
Thank you, man.
Just as a time to promo yourself, where can the people find you? And then I have one last question for you.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, working 50 hours a week at the Audi store in the Strip District, people can always find me there if you're in the car market. As far as all the Instagrams, I know I listed them all earlier in the podcast. Feel free to follow any of those. Reach out on Facebook, just at Jake Aretz, Aretz. Feel free to DM me anytime with questions, about the business, bodybuilding, anything like that. I'm always happy to help anyone out there.
Okay. With all the things you do, I feel like bodybuilding is lifestyle. Mm-hmm. Your sales position right now, and if I may be way off, but it seems like a bit of a stepping stone.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely not my future.
What is your ultimate goal with all the things you do?
I mean, with all the Instagrams and everything, I mean, it's not like any one of those is, my future. Honestly, I wouldn't mind at all to get back to the beer business, and I'd actually love to combine the beer business with the chicken wing passion and start combining some of these passions. And like, if you could walk into my store, grab your case of beer, leave with some wings for you and the family, and then like, oh shit, I forgot a cigar. I have a small humidor in the back. I hook you up. Like, just combining all those passions into a business versus going to work for someone else every day. If I could do something like that, that'd be awesome. But then there's also going to be a point where I'm doing that, / I've kind of already done all those things, even though it'd be independent and, it'd be my income versus working for somebody. I know I'd feel like there's more I can do. And doing something like this, and with this being my first time, is awesome. I'm happy to do this. But just educating people, just doing podcasts or doing seminars for different schools, businesses.
So like speeches and stuff?
Like, I hate to say motivational speaker, but something like that. I mean, down that realm where I'm just educating people on different things that I know. Because like I could come back, do a whole nother podcast on so many different things, like just the development of where I was, where I was suicidal at age 19 to the person I am now, where I'm not even close to having any of those emotions.
I want to get you back then to discuss some of this other stuff. Yeah.
And really get into some of the science of just food, supplements, psychology, health, and just the American market and prescription drugs, dangers, marketing of all that stuff, and how, basically the average American man is set up to lose. If I could come back and talk about some of those things and ultimately tell the public about some of those things in the future, perhaps as a profession, that would definitely be one of my future goals.
Then we will make that happen. I know the guy who runs this whole shit here, who books the people, so I'll talk to him and see if he can pencil you back in.
Awesome.
At some point. Well, thank you guys for tuning in. You know the deal. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, whatever. Anything helps. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out wherever you listen to podcasts. Thank you guys. Have a dope day. Peace and love.